He got a pick six. Pike tricked up and then ends the world with the big one-handed. Here's the pitch. Back up the middle, that's going to be trouble. That one hit the post and then headed in.
Kia NBA Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle.
The 2024-25 NBA Rookie of the Year. I think we're getting used to that around here, Bobby Mendez.
Yeah, it's quite an honor for our Stephon Castle.
We welcome you into the Sports Update brought to you by Martinez and Associates from right here at the KLMO Studios. Lots to get to today. Obviously going to talk Castle and winning a Rookie of the Year, a second straight for the Spurs. Also, Cowboys, kind of our chance to review the draft. Going to talk Texans as well, give our thoughts on their picks and what they did, especially at the top of each of their respective NFL drafts, I should say. Hey, a high school team that won a state championship, got the hardware in. We're going to show you what those rings look like. And speaking of the draft, unless you were under a rock, you probably saw that the bigger storyline had nothing to do with the Cowboys or the Texans. We'll get into that and give our thoughts. In addition to the person who makes the Final Fours in San Antonio go, and is such a big part in getting them here, such a pivotal part, she joins us in studio as well. But we start with those San Antonio Spurs, and you know what a lot of folks thought might have been a foregone conclusion became reality when the NBA announced that Stephon Castle is indeed the Rookie of the Year, a fourth in Spurs franchise history, following Big Dave, Tim, last year Victor Wembanyama, and now Stephon Castle. Now, what made it so impressive is that, yes, he averaged 15 points, nearly 15 points a game per season, Bobby, and that led all rookies. But in the back half of the season, he averaged nearly 18 points per game. So his production improved as the season went along. And mind you, it also improved after Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox went out. So teams were able to key on Castle and say, hey, he's one of the few scoring threats the Spurs have. And he still was able to put up those kinds of numbers, beating out Zachary Reese-Shea, the number one overall pick, as one of the other finalists to win the award. Stephon Castle, your 2024-2025 NBA Rookie of the Year.
Really, towards the end of the season, you know, I had no doubt in my mind that, you know, I'd be here, but, you know, just to hear it, you know, be official is definitely a different feeling. And, you know, to hear it, you know, right next to my family just made it way more special.
You talked about kind of sneaking up on people, but I think from the moment the Spurs drafted you, there's a lot of chatter that the Spurs might have done it again. They might have come away with potentially the best player in the draft. So to kind of go through the year and live up to whatever expectations might have been there through every month of the season, just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I hear expectation, I try and, you know, just break through that wall, you know, no matter what it is. I mean, I feel like I'm super confident in myself, you know, as a player. I mean, I heard B. Wright say it all the time. I mean, he didn't even know what kind of player he was getting, but internally, you know, I knew who I was. So, you know, that's why I just, you know, stay even-keeled, stay humble, because, you know, I feel like, you know, just all the work that I put in will eventually show.
And the interesting thing about Steph, Bobby, is that he's often been very humble, but at the same time, there's a confidence there. There's a quiet confidence. You picked up on it, at least I did from the very beginning of the season. A lot of it stems from the pedigree of UConn, right? And winning the national title in his 1 year with the Huskies. But he had a sense from the beginning that he belonged in this league.
Yeah, and even when you talk to him, Hector, about his forecasting of who the Rookie of the Year should be, and he was confident that it should be him. So that's the kind of confidence that you want in a young athlete on your team, and then also someone that you want to build your team around. So there's just nothing but good things to say about Castle, and yeah, his numbers speak for himself.
I think, tell me if you agree with this, I think we would have been surprised had he not won it, right? I mean, the way the year shook out, maybe it wasn't Wemby type, dude, this thing's a foregone conclusion. We thought it was a foregone conclusion. Maybe it wasn't the case league-wide, but I think we would have been stunned had it gone to some Reese-Shea or somebody else.
Yeah, you know, he's had so much success, and you know, a lot of people talk about, well, how about the impact on the entire team? But Spurs are a great team, and even in national media, national news, he was getting the recognition that we're not used to getting pre-Castle, pre-Wemby. That we didn't get that kind of attention, if you will, and just credit the Spurs to that draft pick, to the getting to the position to get Castle, and just along all of those, everything along the way just went the right way for the Spurs.
Here's the thing. Here's the scary thing if you're the other teams in the league. He's a rookie, right? So he's going to get better. But what he did this past year, he basically did it without having a consistent outside shot. He still struggles from distances and beyond the arc. So imagine when he adds that to his game.
Yeah, and the same thing you could say about Kawhi Leonard. He came in same exact way. Spurs took their time to develop him, and we all know what that came out to.
Yeah, interesting parallel, though, in terms of maybe that's a discussion for later on in the summer, kind of the Kawhi, Stephon, Castle, and how kind of similar, but not really, but kind of at the end of the day. All right, the big story we talked about leading into this week. How about the NFL Draft, Bobby? And we take a look what the Cowboys were able to do, chance to assess what they did through those first couple of rounds. You see Tyler Booker in the first round at 12, and then you see as they went through a couple of other guys there in the first 5 rounds. Now, when you look at that team, when you look at the draft, okay, they went offense, went a little defense, and then they got the kid from Texas, Jaden Blue at running back, but also Shamar James from Florida, one of the guys that they were able to pick up in the 5th round. To look at what they did here in picks round 6 and 7 as they rounded out their draft, as they headed in to the later days, they had 4 picks in the 6th and 7th round, 3 of them in the 7th. And when you look at these names, guys who more than likely aren't going to be on the roster, Bobby, let's not kid ourselves. So as you look at what the Cowboys did over their 2025 NFL Draft, Bobby, your thoughts on the weekend that was for Dallas?
Well, as we talked about last week, Hector, the Cowboys have a lot of need. And I think by them focusing on picking up a offensive lineman on the first round draft was a smart thing for them. Who knows what that's going to pay going forward. But nothing super sexy about the draft for the Cowboys. Yeah. But I mean, nonetheless, I think they're pretty good options, whether you're a Cowboy fan or not. I don't think they get a bad grade.
You know what's interesting to me is Tyler Booker, you can plug him in, you hope, and you now replace Zach Martin, who just retired, right? And it's hard to replace Zach Martin, irreplaceable, future Hall of Famer. But what caught me the most is it did appear that they could have traded down, still gotten Booker. So if the draft is all about currency and value, they shorted themselves a little bit by taking him at 12 when the analysis was that maybe he was still going to be in there later. And for anyone who says, especially Cowboy fans, who look at this through a specific lens and goes, oh, the analysts are wrong or what have you, well, what information do we really have to go on at this point? Everything's a crapshoot to a certain extent. So you can poo-poo the analysts, right, and you can say, what do they know? Or they got the guy they needed. But again, the point of the draft nowadays, it's a different game than it was a couple years ago. The point of the draft is value, currency, and what can you get for your pick in addition to setting yourself up for the future. In that regard, it probably came up a little bit short.
Yeah, and again, nothing sexy about their picks, but you can sit here all day and could have gotten here and could have went here, and where you're going to end up. Obviously we're going to talk about that a little later in the show too, but the other factor that happened in the draft this year. So
yes,
we'll talk about that in just a little while.
Get to that in just a minute. Football closer to home. Check it out. Smithson Valley getting their new championship rings. The Rangers winning the first championship, football state championship in school history. Larry Hill getting his first ring. Much deserved for Larry Hill, one of the great coaches not only in this area but in all of Texas. And the Rangers going 14-2, actually for a second straight season, and then capping off a playoff run with the win against Dallas Highland Park at Jerry World to cap off a magical campaign. Our good friend Bo Wick, his son Brody Wick, that's why you see Wick on the side there at the top of the ring. His son, a member of the Smithson Valley football team, and so this, Brody's Hardware.
What a feeling it has to be. State championship coming back to the San Antonio area, and no better coach than Coach Hill of Smithson Valley, Hector. One of the best coaches I've ever. We're flooded with tons of good coaches here in the area. But Coach Hill, well deserving of that that state title for his football team. No coach has ever been more welcoming for media, as far as giving us media packets, preparing us, doing a lot of the homework for us for our games. And I've always learned a lot from him. And I'm so grateful for Coach Hill that he's won himself a state title.
Yeah, again, congratulations to Coach Hill and the Smithson Valley community. A magical ride in winning a state championship. We're just getting started right here on the Sports Update. Later on, Jenny Carnes from San Antonio Sports joins us. And up next, we're talking Texans draft. Already talked Cowboys. We'll reassess what Houston did.
Been in a crash? It's illegal for lawyers to contact you first. If yours did, it could ruin your case. Don't trust law firms that break the law. Choose Martinez and Associates, voted San Antonio's best law firm 3 years in a row. After you've been in a crash, go with the law firm you can trust. Call Martinez and Associates. With us, it's personal.
Call 210-337-1111. That's 210-337-1111.
Welcome back to the Sports Update brought to you by Martinez and Associates. We talked Cowboys earlier in the show, Bobby. How about a look at what the Texans did and how they fared in their draft? Common theme throughout their draft. They got Jaden Higgins, a receiver, another receiver in the third round, Jalen Noel. Check it out. Teammates in college. Iowa State, they're going to be teammates again. Well, then after they took Jalen Noel, they take Jalen Smith in the next round before they got to Woody Marks. Continuing with the rest of their draft, guess what? Another Jalen in the mix, but this Jalen spells it E-N as opposed to I-N. And so Jalen Reed, one of the four guys they took in round 6 and 7 as the Texans wrapped up their 2024-2025 draft. You know, the Sports Update, not possible without our good friends at Martinez and Associates. For us, it's personal is their slogan, and it is. Great people, great attorneys, top-notch, first class all the way. The number, should you need it, should you be in need, for Martinez and Associates, 337 and then 4 ones, 337-1111. The website, martinez-law.com. So you need them, look them up. Martinez and Associates, voted best law firm in San Antonio for a couple years running. Bobby, NBA playoffs going on full swing. Any series that you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, or any series that's been in particular fun for you to watch?
Well, in the beginning, Hector, before Fiesta, I was watching some, but I'll have to admit the last couple of nights, not been watching too much, but catch some of the highlights. Yeah,
how about that Golden State Houston series? That's kind of one of those, it's along with the Lakers and T-Wolves, a lot of fun to watch, especially for folks who follow the Western Conference.
Yeah, Golden State, always, you love to hate those guys, especially here in this town. And it's kind of hard.
And you love to hate Houston.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And they're both going against each other.
And it's kind of hard because you got Houston, who I feel is like little brother. So sometimes it's not as much as a rivalry as it was back in the day with the Spurs and Houston. But really, it's really kind of hard to like the Golden State Warriors, at least for me. And it's not because of any other reason. It's they're just so darn good. Yeah. They always hit those shots, and that's my personal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking Oklahoma City and Boston maybe gonna meet in the finals. Cleveland showing you it's first round, right? It's the first round. They're the ones that are supposed to win with ease, but maybe they sent a little bit of a message of, hey, we're still here. Don't forget about us. As much as Boston is the defending NBA champion. Still to come right here on the Sports Update, brought to you by Martinez and Associates. The person who makes it go for the Final Four coming to San Antonio joins us. The why, the how, the when maybe it might happen again. Jenny Carnes from SA Sports, so generous for the time. Lot to get into with her, and we'll certainly do that next right here on the Sports Update.
Ready! Set! Go!
bad idea to run a foot race against these guys, just like it's a bad idea to go up against the billion-dollar auto insurance industry all alone.
Hire Martinez and Associates. With us, it's personal.
The On Par Golf Academy at Mission Del Lago was designed and developed to offer not only the highest quality golf instruction in San Antonio, but so much more. With its experienced staff and its TrackMan indoor and outdoor training facility, On Par Golf has the capability to meet all your golf improvement needs. From its junior golf programming to its entertainment and hosting services, OPG has got you covered. So if you're ready to take your golf game to the next level, come see us at On Par Golf.
Welcome back to the Sports Update presented by Martinez and Associates, and we have the person who makes it go when it comes to the Final Four in San Antonio. Now, she's going to say it's a team effort, and it is. But Jenny Carnes, the president and CEO of San Antonio Sports. Jenny, is it an absolute pleasure to have you on the show?
Well,
thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. I've known y'all for so many years, and it's a pleasure to be here to talk about my favorite topic.
Well, thanks for taking the time, because I'm tempted to say you at least now get to decompress. But you might say, actually, now is when a different kind of work begins, and we'll talk about that here throughout the conversation.
Sure.
But first of all, Jenny, congratulations on another fantastic Final Four. Yes, we're biased, but you hear from the national folks, and you hear from the NCAA, folks who come in from out of town who are covering the teams who make it, folks from everywhere, and again, just rave reviews for the job that San Antonio and your organization did in putting on the Final Four.
Thank you. We are biased, but you're right. Everyone that comes to San Antonio says to us all the time, the Final Four should be here every year or every other year. Indy, San Antonio, back and forth. I mean, this is hands down the best host city. We might not have the best facility for the games, but we have the best package overall. We have the best city. We have the best proximity. Everything's in walking distance. We have the best weather in April. We're centrally located in the country. The coaches love to come here.
Yeah, I've been for I don't know how long. I've been on the it needs to be here every single year.
Yep.
Let's just make it happen. But of course, there's other things at play.
I've pitched that before.
Yeah.
So many events, the concerts, everything that just happens, the fanfare to get in and do all the activities. I'm also on the same boat. Let's figure out a way how we can have it centralized here in San Antonio.
Well, I think one of our biggest successes for that weekend was, come on, 4 number 1 seeds, the 3 best games. I've seen some really good Final Four games in my 26 years of going to the Final Four every year, but I've never seen 3 games like that back to back to back. Incredible. But outside of the Dome, what happened in our city? Perfect weather after Friday. Perfect weather the entire weekend. Our fan attendance at the Fan Fest, at the music festival, at Tip-Off Tailgate was off the charts. I mean, we are breaking records compared to other cities in the past decade plus. And so San Antonio showed up and showed out for this.
Sorry, Hector.
But
we had Sook here, our first show, and we talked about the importance of what's happening downtown. And I don't know, how much does that have to play with us getting more of this in the future?
Well, Sook is one of our biggest advocates, District 1, where most of these events took place outside of the Alamo Dome being on the east side in District 2. Thank you to Jalen. But it means so much to downtown. And so I talk to Sook often about what does it look like to, look forward. We have a women's volleyball Final Four on the books that will be here December 2026. Men's basketball regional coming to the Frostbank Center in 2027. And then women's basketball Final Four that will be here at the Dome in 2029. But men's Final Four coming back, we're now looking into the next cycle, which is 2032 through 2036. I hope to be on a golf course by that time. I mean, you think about that, and I know it's like tomorrow, but that seems so far off. And we know that we've got to continue to improve our city, improve the Alamo Dome if this event will come back here.
Yeah. From your perspective, Jenny, what's this like? Because we get to enjoy it or cover it cover it. But I know it's tireless work, and that even doesn't do it justice, that term. Can you take us through what leading up to that weekend and everything that goes into it is like?
Yeah. I have people that tell me all the time, just what you said. Congratulations. I know it was a hard month. You guys put in a lot of hours. And I say, nope, I've been working on this event for 8 years. I started working on the bid for this event in the summer of 2017. We were awarded the summer of 2018, and we went right to work. We started fundraising. We started thinking about what does our staffing plan look like. We started working with the city, what improvements to the Alamodome we need to make, and then it all trickles down after that. So this was an 8-year project that came down to 4 days. Now, the lead up in March was nuts, and it always is, and I've been through it many, many times, and it's long days. It's a lot of staff time that goes into moving things from places to place and dollies, and you don't sleep, and the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, you guys cannot even imagine. I'm gonna write a book one day, because no one, unless you're in it, no one can imagine what goes really into just sitting down and watching 3 great basketball games, or going to a concert, or going to watch a women's game in the tip-off tailgate. Nobody knows what happens behind the scenes.
You mentioned the 3 great games, getting back to on the court, and it's funny because after that first semifinal, after Florida and Auburn went toe to toe, it's almost like Duke and Houston said, "Hold my beer."
Hold my beer.
And,
Hold my beer.
And then what we saw between Houston and Florida on Monday night was, my goodness.
Well, and you could all rewind to the regional weekend before, when the games came down to Texas Tech being so close to being in San Antonio, and it would have been magical to have Texas Tech and the University of Houston here in San Antonio in that same weekend. So the games were incredible, but I didn't actually have a seat the semifinal night. I was in the building, just kind of like, what do I need to do, being flexible, staying loose, and hosting some folks up in our office in the Alamodome. And I'm literally watching from the corridor between the upper level and the lower level, and I couldn't believe the outcome of those games. And then you see how Houston stole it from Duke in the last seconds, and then Houston lost it in the same way.
In the
Florida.
same way.
Yeah. And then I sat down on championship night, and we were actually down by the floor, sitting next to the Houston delegation, and seeing Coach Sampson's wife, and just the devastation.
Yeah.
Because they've been so close so many times, and that's the closest they've ever been. And Coach Sampson, he deserves a championship. He'll get it one day, but to see it that close and to just watch them let it slip away was heartbreaking. And I can't cheer for any one team. I'm neutral. Right. I'm cheering for a really good game. You got that.
Yeah, and as we go to you here, Bobby, it's kind of piggybacking off of Monday night. After all of that is done, then they float down the river.
Yes.
Monday night,
yes.
Again, tying everything back in, something that only San Antonio can offer. You're having a parade on a river after just having won the national title. I mean, it's just...
So that was my idea in 2017, and I floated it past the NCAA. Yeah, it all sounds like a great idea. Let's celebrate the national championship team on the river, as only San Antonio does. But then you don't realize how late it is.
Yes.
After the game, after the interviews, after the nets are cut, after the showers, after the cleanup, get on the bus, go over to the river. And, 1:30, I'm thinking, this maybe wasn't the best idea. But when you have 10,000 fans from Florida waiting to see their team roll into Arneson Theater on a couple of barges, it makes it all worth it.
Because at that point,
spectacular.
if you're the winner, sleep's not an option at that point.
No.
It's not even.
We're going right to the airport at that point. I think most of them did. Yeah.
Obviously Final Four, the biggest thing that happens for your organization, but there's a lot of things that you guys do at SA Sports. So tell us a little bit about that, and what's the next big event?
Well, thank you, Bobby, for bringing up what's more important to us. Our mission is to transform San Antonio through the power of sport, with a vision of a healthy community, places to play, and events that impact, like the Final Four. There's not a bigger event that impacts San Antonio more than the Final Four. We know that. Maybe Fiesta, going on right now, but we do so many events throughout the year that really and truly does impact our kids. Bobby's involved, but we do a San Antonio High School All-Star football game to celebrate the top seniors in the area, not just San Antonio, but the area, giving them their last football game to play in the Alamodome following the All-American Bowl. And, year to year, we typically see 35 kids that come out of that game with a chance to go on and play. If they weren't committed before, they didn't have an opportunity before, but they get a chance to go on and play in college and further their football career. And just last year, after the success of the football game for all these years, we wanted to expand that into basketball. My favorite sport. So maybe that's why we started with basketball. Yeah. But very successful in our first 2 years, coming off that right before Final Four, hosting at the Northside Sports Gym. And again, we're celebrating the top boys and girls. This is why I wanted to do basketball, so we could celebrate the top girls in the area as well. And the talent, that we've seen in the first 2 years has been incredible. Last year, it was more about the girls. We had some of the top girls in the country playing in our game, and they balled. And then this year, watching a couple of these guys that we're gonna see them in the NBA in 2 years. So that's just a small part of what we do. But more importantly, go down several grade levels, and it's about our I Play After School program. And this is where we get these kids started. So we're in 7 different school districts, over 50 Title I elementary schools, giving a chance for kids to start playing club sports that otherwise they couldn't afford. So we're putting a ball in hands, basketball, volleyball, soccer, flag football now, which is growing immensely. So we're just trying to give opportunities for kids to, is sport your journey. Or maybe it's just staying in school because of sport, and then you go on and do something else. But that is so important, and thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, Jenny mentioning the basketball is her favorite sport. For those who don't know, Jenny, quite the hoopster over at UIW back in her day. Going forward, Jenny, the consensus around the city seems to be, well, as long as the Alamo Dome can keep up, we're going to keep on getting Final Fours. Can you talk about the balance of that reality versus, well, yes, that's true. Are there other factors, or does it really honestly truly boil down to that's the key factor in terms of the Final Four returning?
Yeah, I have mixed emotions on this because we have been told by the NCAA that, and we've done millions of dollars of improvements at the Dome to get ready for Final Four after Final Four. We did it in, leading up to 2018. We did it this year. They've told us that, $50 million, $60 million won't cut it in the next round. We're now going to be in competition with the same cities we've been fighting against for years with NFL stadiums, but now Vegas is in play. Nashville will have a new stadium. We will always be up against new competition, and we are challenged because we don't have an NFL tenant. So the NCAA has said you have to transform the Dome. You cannot put another Band-Aid on it. You have to transform it if you want to be in the next round. And so we've talked a lot about Project Marvel in the city over the last 9 months, right? I'm completely for it, and I really think that will keep us in the NCAA mix. That will put us in the CFP conversation. We could do so many other things, big soccer matches, rugby, you name it. But coming off Final Four weekend and knowing that I don't think Project Marvel will have started or even be a commitment before we bid on the next men's Final Four round, I'm like you, hold my beer. San Antonio, they love to come here. And even despite some of our challenges with a non-NFL stadium, I think they'll come back even before we get to Project Marvel. Coming off what we just pulled off. So that's where I have mixed emotions.
Gotcha.
I know we've got to keep up the building, got to keep up the progress within the city, not just the building, but just the development downtown, around the building, around the Spurs come back downtown. But I also think this city is a perfect host, and I think they'll come back without it.
I feel it's just so important that for all matters, like you're talking about, it's so important that we just keep up to date, right? You got LA with the new stadium as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't even mention LA.
So we if we want to be a major city like we've been trying to be, and we've made so much progress over the years, I'd hate for at this point for us to have peaked, right? When I feel like there's just so much more we can do.
We talk about wanting to be that major city, but we got to step up and act like it.
Correct. The mindset's got to change to a certain extent.
Got to change with the general public in San Antonio.
Yes.
We can no longer be the stepchild of Texas, of the country. And if the general public can't see that and they don't get on board, it won't happen. The city's behind it. Amazing vision. I'm so excited that the city has this vision right now.
Yep.
Everyone's behind it that you would expect to be behind it, but we've got to get the public on board.
Right. No doubt. No doubt. You mentioned, Jenny, the next bids here, 2032 and beyond. So take us through that timeline. By when does San Antonio need to have its bid ready? And then when will those announcements come?
Yeah, and this is why I don't think that there will be a Project Marvel commitment before we get to that next timeline. So what the NCAA has told us now is that the next men's Final Four bid cycle will come out next summer, so summer of 26, and probably be announced, sometime in 2027. And if you look at the timeline and you've heard the presentations on Project Marvel, we know that the Alamodome is kind of at the bottom of the timeline. They're looking at the new Spurs Arena first and some of those other projects first, the Convention Center, the Convention Center Hotel. So yeah, we've got to put our best foot forward next year to be able to get this back before we can announce a $1 billion project around the dome, if that's where the city's headed.
Well, Jenny, it's been an absolute pleasure. Always so informative, as always. And so thank you so much for the time. And again, I mean this with sincerity. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
we all take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I say I don't mind speaking for the entire city because we bear the fruits of the labor of you and your team. So a heartfelt thank you for not only bringing this to San Antonio, but now bringing it for a fifth time. And I think we're for folks with San Antonio backgrounds, had you told somebody before 1998 that the Final Four would come in 98, and then not only that, but would come again in 04, in 08, and 18, and then again in 2025, we would have told you, yeah, right. Yeah. Never going to happen.
Well, and we got that commitment for 1998 before the building was even out of the ground.
Yeah.
And that's the most remarkable thing about our NCAA run.
Yeah.
And you said it as we started, that I will always thank the entire team effort, and that's what it was. Every SAPD officer, every staff person that worked, Bexar County officers. I mean, it took a village, and San Antonio showed out. So very proud.
Jenny Carnes,
everybody.
President and CEO of San Antonio Sports, but so much more. One of San Antonio's best ambassadors, and I say that not just because you're here, but just
thank you.
For those of us who know, for those who may not know, doesn't get any better than Jenny Carnes. We're back to wrap up the sports update brought to you by Martinez and Associates. Astros, some football talk on the way next.
Been in a crash? It's illegal for lawyers to contact you first. If yours did, it could ruin your case. Don't trust law firms that break the law. Choose Martinez and Associates, voted San Antonio's best law firm 3 years in a row. After you've been in a crash, go with the law firm you can trust. Call Martinez and Associates. With us, it's personal.
Call 210-337-1111. That's 210-337-1111.
You're gonna see me shine, 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 shine. Walking on beams of light.
Back here on the Sports Update, brought to you by Martinez and Associates. You know, we talk draft in terms of if I can only get it straight, the perspectives of the Cowboys and the Texans. But league-wide, no doubt that Shedeur Sanders, Bobby, was the main story, and his drop until the Cleveland Browns picked him up in the 5th round. This is a guy who last year, a projected top overall pick by some folks, going into this year, a projected first-round pick somewhere. 5th round of the Browns.
Yeah, just as surprised as everybody else, but the word on the streets or what you're listening to and watching, maybe it's the league, putting their stance on this new style.
Sports Update, not possible without our good friends at Martinez and Associates. For us, it's personal is your slogan, and it is. Great people, great attorneys, top-notch, first class all the way. The number, should you need it, should you be in need, for Martinez and Associates, 337 and then 4 ones, 337-1111. The website, martinez-law.com. So you need them. Look them up. Martinez and Associates, voted best law firm in San Antonio for a couple years running. Wrapping up the show, Bobby, the Astros have an interesting stretch coming up. They play a couple of teams that are hovering right around 500. So a chance maybe for the Astros to get on a bit of a run. Remember, they keep losing all these stars over the years. Correa, Bregman, the latest one, Springer, Verlander, all these guys gone. They keep on winning, including last year making another trip to the postseason. They've been there every year since 2017 when they won the whole thing, and went before in 2015 with this score. And so a stretch here maybe where they can get things together early on in the season.
Yeah, you know, they have a history of going through these roller coaster rides throughout the season, but somehow, some way, they end up pulling things off towards the end of the season.
We'll see you next week right here on the Sports Update presented by Martinez and Associates.
Y'all gonna see me shine, 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 shine. Walking on beams of light, 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 light.
Been in a crash? It's illegal for lawyers to contact you first. If yours did, it could ruin your case. Don't trust law firms that break the law. Choose Martinez and Associates, voted San Antonio's best law firm 3 years in a row. After you've been in a crash, go with the law firm you can trust. Call Martinez and Associates. With us, it's personal.
Call 210-337-1111. That's 210-337-1111.